Right, we are live. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. We are back for another match of the Women's World Cup. This one, New Zealand versus Ireland in a top-of-the-table clash to see who gets that better qualifying spot heading into the quarterfinals. The way that the quarterfinals shaped up at the start of the round, it was going to be the top of this group up against the second top of Pool D. In this case, at the moment, the way that the rankings are, it would theoretically be New Zealand versus France and Ireland versus South Africa. Now, that can all change very quickly, just like these results, as now you can see, boom, just like that, Canada versus Australia, that is quarterfinal number 2, all locked and loaded, ready to go next week. England versus Scotland, so a rematch of the Six Nations. So it's very intriguing to know who will be sitting where on this side of the draw as well. Looking through at the way that it does sit at the moment, New Zealand, like I said, top of the bunch, but both of these sides are on 10 points, so whoever wins this game will qualify. As the top seed, South Africa, they take on France in only a couple hours' time. We will also be doing that game on the channel, and by the end of that one, we'll know exactly who everyone is playing. But jumping straight into the lineups for this matchup, New Zealand going strong for this contest, as they know that the top position in those qualifiers could be just that little bit more crucial as you head through the competition. In the front row, it is Veliko alongside Georgia Ponsonby in the number 2 jersey. And once again, they have gone with these, well, this is actually the same front row, I believe, as the last match with Tanya. I always butcher her last name, but Kolonavali as that number 3 option. Rus alongside Bremner in the locking duo. Now, once again, we do see Sa'i move back to number 6. I do like her there a lot better than number 8. Makaeli, too, comes back in as that 8 option. And, of course, the always electric and always dangerous Georgia Miller dotting in as the number 7. Reece Pori Lane alongside Demant as the 9 and 10 combination. Portia Woodman-Wycliffe playing number 11 for this matchup. Brunt and Stacey Waka in the midfield. And then Sorensen McGee out on the right with Renee Holmes dotting in as number 15. Looking through at the Irish starting lineup, a very strong team, and they have had a good run so far throughout this Women's Rugby World Cup. 2 wins from 2. In the front row, Perry and Jones as that number 2, and then number 3. I always butcher, it's just the tight head props for some reason that don't quite roll off the tongue, but I believe it is the Show Gang in that number 3 jersey. That was probably absolutely nowhere near the pronunciation, but Campbell in the number 4 jersey, Monaghan and number 5. She does return from an injury in the last game, so it is great to see that she is still back and raring to go for the Irish. And the loose forward trio will be more in the number 6, McMahon, number 7, and then Brittany Hogan slotting in as that number 8. Riley and O'Brien will be the 9 and 10 combination. Eve Higgins in the midfield alongside Dalton. Costigan out on one wing, Parsons out on the other, and then Stacey Flood as the number 15. But those are the starting lineups. These are the previous results for the two sides. We will quickly go through the chat as well while we're at it. We have got Novmum here. We've got Zion, Bruce, Winners here as well. We have got Up the Ferns from Chris. That is Kiss. And we have got there as well, afternoon everyone from an icy, windy Cape Town. So here's Roof there. And doing France versus South Africa, we are indeed. We are going to be covering that game straight after this one. Do you ever sleep? Though I can say the same about myself, says in Soviet Russia. Yeah, the sleep schedule's a bit broken. I did manage to get a few hours, though, during the day so that we can once again do another all-nighter to be able to cover these games. Evening, Hamish and all, says Studs Rays. Welcome in. You're doing extremely well. And hey, Hamish, brother, says Johnny Blaze there. And there is a lot on the line for these two sides. Like I mentioned, top qualifying spot. Could be massive. Nice grey hoodie, says Ruth. To be honest, South Africa will, in all likelihood, get beaten by France, says Akaris. They are massive underdogs going into that game. But there is this game. And I don't want to jinx anything, but New Zealand have been beaten by Ireland before. And yes, New Zealand are ranked a lot higher than the Irish in the overall standings. New Zealand currently right up there in that top 3 department. Ireland are sitting 5th. That's not a massive decline. So you just never know. We see there the standoff there for New Zealand as well as the Irish. Ireland actually walked forward a little bit after the Black Ferns did their haka. And there's a quiet standoff at the moment. Both sides not moving. It's going to be a stalemate. Now, we actually saw this in the under-20s. Oh, no, everyone's given up. But in the under-20s, they stood there for a good, I think it was like 2 or 3 minutes. I believe it was last under-20s comp. Not the one just recently. It's like 60-40. New Zealand wins over Ireland in women's studs race. Yeah, so we could actually see, even if South Africa were losing to France, we could actually still see them play New Zealand in the quarterfinal if the New Zealanders were to lose this game. But either way, it's shaping up to have 2 matches in the quarterfinals of Six Nations rematches. And then alongside that, the other side of the draw involving pretty much the South as well as Canada on that side as well. Morena Hamish says, Blues Nate, welcome in. Hope you're doing extremely well. And we have got there, as an Irish person, I'm tired of this New Zealand and Irish dance. You guys totally, or usually come out on top. Says Major Zero. They do normally, but at the same time, like I said, this Rugby World Cup, Ireland have looked pretty solid throughout their first games. I've still got it up on the screen. They were able to beat the Spanish. Now, they didn't win up against either of these sides by the same margin as New Zealand. But I do think the way that Australia started in their game up against the English, that is definitely something to look at as, you know, if Ireland can start well here and then continue doing quite strongly. Like, New Zealand haven't been absolutely unbeatable in their first two games. Now, they have been because of the opposition that they've had, but I do think the Black Ferns themselves would say, you know, if they made that many handling errors and had that many penalties against them up against the top side, they would have a chance of losing. And the question is Ireland going to be that top side today? Why is it out on Sky Sport now after the haka? It's what they've been doing the whole competition. It really annoys me because half the time they end up putting the ad on for too long and you end up missing the first 20 seconds of the game, or they end up delaying it a little bit more behind some of the coverage around the world. It's just a way for them to try and make money right before a kickoff, but yeah, hopefully it comes in very soon as the game just about to kick off. And love of the Black Ferns backline. Says all in the game. There's a lot of talent across the board. We'll mention at the moment they haven't got Amy Duplessis in that number 12 jersey. Instead, Brunt gets that chance here once again at 12. We've got there. Hi, Hamish says, Spook, welcome in. Hope you're doing extremely well. Hope you're excited for another game. And I should mention, there is a chance next weekend that we get to see New Zealand versus South Africa in the men, and then New Zealand versus South Africa in the women straight afterwards. We will be covering both of those games on the channel, but Holly Davidson, she will be covering this game in the refereeing kit today. Quinton Immelman will be the TMO. It's actually been a pretty good week in terms of the lack of TMO interference across the world of rugby. Now, something that we have seen an absolutely huge amount of, not just in the Women's World Cup, but just in general, is forward passes. We'll see whether or not that plays a factor. But Ireland, they are wearing their white kit for this matchup, and they will be kicking off from left to right. We are underway. It is whoever wins this qualifies top of Pool C. New Zealand currently in possession, 10 metres out from their own try line. That's going to be a tough one up against this Irish team. Their toughest test so far for the Black Ferns. Are they going to be up for the challenge? Demant going across to the right-hand side, still inside of that 22. Peeking for some Black Ferns. Says Spook there. And dropping the head. Ireland's defence can be extremely dangerous, but every once in a while they just leave that big gap that ends up with them conceding a try. It's kicked downfield, taken by Stacey Flood, who will run it back up to 25 metres out. Legs chopped out from underneath her from Veliko. Now away to the right-hand side. A little bit of a set play there for the Irish, looking like it was shaping up with Eve Higgins, who's an absolute superstar on the women's 7 circuit for the Irish. 30 metres or so from the try line. New Zealand having to defend early. They did give away a few penalties right at the start of their last game. Georgia Miller or whoever. She's an awesome talent. Says, was there from Johnny Blaze. Now a bit of space on the outside for Ireland to be able to work it away. The far side of the field. Back across to the right. Ball from Riley. Straight into the hands of Campbell. Why does the Irish kit look like Georgia's kit? I'm actually not sure why they weren't able to wear the green for this one. I assume it was something to do with the colourblind side of things. But, you know, I expected to fully see Ireland wearing that normal green kit, unless there's some sort of extra reasoning behind it. All advantage early. New Zealand not rolling away in the breakdown. Riley goes back across to the left-hand side. Some nice quick hands from the locks. Shoveling it on. 9 phases in a row here at this point in time. Now off to the left again. A little bit of a scrap on the ground going on between Leila Sa'i, and they will go back for the penalty. Ball not coming out there. And we have got there that number 7 girl is a freak. She's built like a man for real, says Johnny Blaze. So that is Georgia Miller, I assume, is there. And we've got there really good here, Hamish. We're good to go. You like the ladies. So here's Blues Nate. Right, big decision here for the Irish. Do you take an early 3 while it's available? Or do you go for the corner? I think Ireland are kicking corner here. They have decided, oh, hang on. What's going on? The captain. Okay, that was interesting. One of the players for Ireland actually went up and talked to the kicker before she decided to kick it into the corner. So that's just a very good kick. It will be about 6 metres out from the line, and a chance here for the Irish rolling maul. It's a good initial run forward from Stacey Flood, and welcome to the jungle. So here's Isla there. Is it Isla, actually? I always say Isla, but Isla, it might actually be Isla, is it? So I apologise if I said it wrong the first time. And now thrown in. Nicely taken by the Irish. Bit of a set piece here, but getting driven into touch. Well defended. Ruth Campbell, nowhere to go. And I don't think that was the right choice for Ireland. Instead, try and get that rolling more going early. See if New Zealand end up conceding that early penalty. This is going to be a battle of nerves. Who's going to blink first? And Ireland winning 2 of 3. Versus New Zealand is so weird to see, says all in the game. And also Miller time, says Ruth. But now New Zealand have the line out, 5 metres out from their own line with Georgia Ponsonby to throw it. We've got there Ayla. So it's not Isla, it's not Isla, it's Ayla. I will try my best to remember that. I do apologise for not just the first, but also the second pronunciation in that case. Georgia Miller, a legend, as she started on her journey. Mean player. Keep your eyes open, Ireland, or you'll be punished. There's Mike, but now 5 metres out from the line. New Zealand have conceded the ball again to the Irish, and they find themselves defending the Black Ferns just out from their line, but a knock on the ground. So they're going to go back to the line-out knock-on. And it will be now Ireland scrum feed. They've got their Miller time. Naji, says Mike there. Just slipping through the fingertips of Bremner there. Goes straight to her, and in fact, it went through the fingers and slapped her in the face, unfortunately. The 18-year-old Sorensen girl, I hope these are those old ladies don't get too close to her, says Johnny Blaze. We've got there, says Mike. And also Irish look to ferret the ball away. There we go. Well, now they have got themselves a scrum feed here for the Irish. This one's only going to be 5 metres out from the line. I would expect... The thing is, they've got the option of Brittany Hogan off the back, and in fact, that's the conversation at the moment. When there's a scrum reset, we saw Riley go over to talk to Brittany Hogan. Isla is best, says Akaris. Although, to be fair, if she says it's Ayla and that's her name, we should probably go with what she says rather than not her name. We have got there, Italy have missed all 6 conversions versus Brazil, like Wales missed all 5 versus Fiji yesterday. So, yeah, it's all in the game. Yeah, I did see Italy got a very good start in that game up against the Brazilians, but now the scrum finally taking place for these two teams. And the ball goes in. Can they hold strong enough? Right, they didn't use Brittany Hogan this time. They go across into the middle of the field. Eve Higgins dragged down just short. Now she has some experience. Oh, that's a knock on from Brittany Hogan. In fact, I don't even know if she got her hands to that one. And it looks like will now be the scrum feed for the Black Ferns. And they are all fired up on their own goal line. There are high fives going around. There are screams for this Black Ferns team. But I think that was more so the Irish mistake than the Black Ferns defence there. We did see just the wrong passing option. We have got there, well, I think you should look in the feed again, says Akaris. So is that where... Oh, she changed it from Ayla to Isla. Well, my apologies, Akaris. I guess you're always right. We have got there, good morning, hi, says Sana. And also we have got there, go to Wahine, says Andrew. And also we have got there, Hamish, who's going to get 3 tries. I don't know if anyone will get a hat-trick in this game. In fact, I think that the chance of more than 40 here for either team is quite unlikely. I'd like to see it go quite close in that regard, and right option. Number 8 should have expected that one, says Studs Race. Okay, we've got a bit of a reset going on now. The scrums again. We haven't really had a smooth scrum as of yet. A lot of resets. The early feeling out process of this contest. Currently 6.5 minutes through. The Black Ferns 5 metres from their own line. We have got there, go the Wahines. See, here's Andrew there. As Braxton Poor Renev. No idea what that's supposed to be. I know that Braxton is the winger. But is it like... As in, like, is Braxton on for Renee? Maybe, in terms of Renee Holmes. She is going to be out on the wing. Now, that one's going to be fed in here for the Black Ferns. And off to the right-hand side. Kicking this one down the field. Demant. Around the halfway line. Ireland looking to run this one back. New Zealand haven't been out of their half for this whole game, but that will help, as there's a little bit of accidental obstruction from the Irish. Have you ever been to Frisco Fish and Chips? And Rickerton, I was watching about it today. I've never been to that fish and chip place. I haven't been to many fish and chip shops. Playing fullback. She is not playing fullback. No, she's out on the right wing for this game. And warm, slightly overcast and windless here in Wellington, Cape Town for a change. Yeah, I did see that Boland. They are going to be away from home for their Currie Cup matches. First of all, that opening contest up against, I believe they're playing the Lions for this weekend. And then after that, there is also Cheetahs versus Griquas as the other game. Black Ferns with the line-out throw just around the halfway line, so theoretically still have not quite exited their own half by about a metre. The line-out is claimed by Bremner. Risi Poldy Lane goes across to Demand. Oh, that's a big collision in the midfield, going a little bit too high. The Irish, number 10 now inside border. Georgia Miller breaks through one challenge. Now, the biggest thing for New Zealand here will be avoid those injuries. If they lose someone like a Miller, it would be, that was almost going to be losing a player like Sylvia Brunt. Her knees got stuck underneath one of the Irish players and she flopped over backwards. Penalty to Ireland, leaving the feet in the breakdown. I think it was Ponsonby who maybe got a little bit too keen to jump in there. It's going to be off the feet. Rassi will announce our team tomorrow already. Says Tristan. Oh, so he's going Tuesday this week. I hadn't actually seen any update about when it is. Is that tomorrow New Zealand time or tomorrow South African time? Tristan, I guess they're probably theoretically the same thing, aren't they? That means I'll have to do a whole heap of videos before then. Yeah, when Springboks will name the team, I'll just have a quick look now while we have got another stoppage in this one. Where is it? They're going to announce it. This past weekend. Monday morning at 9 a.m. South African time. As early as Monday morning, 9 a.m. South African time. So what time would that be in New Zealand? That's 7 p.m. Yeah, later today. That's a weird... Why are they doing it so early? Makes no sense to me. Like, you've probably got a couple injuries that might need to be looked at, unless there's always going to be that change anyway, but it just makes no sense. You know, wait till Wednesday. Have a couple trainings first. But now, Ireland, go back across to the right-hand side. Now, thought about going on the outside, doesn't quite get their hands away. Who's ref at the gate? No, I'm not actually too sure who's in charge of that one as of yet. Another offload there from Ireland, just around the halfway line. Another step coming. A good low tackle made as well. No, it's New Zealand, not Aotearoa, says Johnny Blaze. So now back into the pocket, Ireland. Thought about kicking it, but now going to run it forward with O'Brien. Loose ball. Bremner almost got a fingertip to it. And they're just under all sorts of pressure here, Ireland. New Zealand get the turnover, but that was a very scrappy kind of 5 or 6 phases there for the Irish, forever going backwards, and New Zealand get themselves that big steal. Already 11 minutes through this contest. So there, the captain Bremner getting right up in the face. And 2 a.m. ice cream is happening, says Studs Race. Okay, it sounded like there was a conversation with the Irish captain and the referee. Oh, yeah, it was all but the fingertip from Alana Bremner. We have got there, Rusty was obviously trying to play mind games with late naming last week. Says Nars Williams. Maybe a bit. I also thought it was just because they were waiting to see if Sia Kolisi was going to be available. But I would say by announcing it on Monday, we're probably going to expect at least 1 or 2 changes when the team actually plays. More than likely. Because someone will go down with a training injury before that point. We see it all the time with sides. Normally, we don't experience it in their lineups because they would wait long enough that they don't have to deal with that. But I don't know. It'll be interesting. It just means that I've probably got another all-nighter ahead of me, even more so than before. A little bit of a huddle here for New Zealand. I don't think Razor's buying Russie's mind games. I think Razor's more focused on his own team in this scenario. He knows that they have to try and win these games rather than worrying about what South Africa are doing. From that first match, we also saw that South Africa seemed like their own worst enemy with the amount of drop balls and whatnot. So, yeah, it will be intriguing. I actually think that there is potential of a 1-1 series in New Zealand if South Africa do fire. But if they don't, then New Zealand will just, similar to what we saw at Eden Park, be able to grind out that victory. Do you think it may be Rassi targeting the Wellington match, saying the Eden Park game was too difficult? Both games are just as important for the Rugby Championship. Yeah, I think that going into New Zealand, Rassi would have at least wanted 1 win. I know that at the start of the year he said he wanted every single victory for the whole season, but sadly, international rugby is pretty tough. Oh, big bump off there from Sylvia Brunt. Now going off to the left-hand side. A good run forward from Kulovani. And that ball's going to be stuck in there. Little knock on. Does now mean that there will be the opportunity for Ireland 10 metres out from their own line with the scrum. Good morning, currently hate watching Brazil. They are not disappointing me at least, says Katzenell. And also Razor needs to sort out that scrum. I don't know whether or not there is a way of sorting it in just 1 week though. Like, we've got to remember, like, as much as people want to try and say that the South African scrum isn't as strong as it has been, it still does make a lot of sides walk back. We have got their heroic job recently by yourself a point. Says Akaris, thank you very much. Greatly appreciate it. I think for £10, that would be about maybe 2 or 3 points here. So it would be a big night. But yeah, greatly appreciate it. Been a busy old weekend, and now it's going to get even more busy. We've got South Africa versus France around the corner after this contest. Another team huddle going on at the moment in this game. Slow start, 12 minutes in, 0-all in this contest. Just a little break in play. We have got the Brown hiding it from her, too. She's likely a health freak, says Johnny Blaze. And they already know what's needed to be done to fix the scrum, says in Soviet Russia. Hope the pitch not greasy, says Spook. We talking about that New Zealand-South Africa game next week or this one here? Showing a man in a All Blacks kit. A lot of support for both of these sides. Heading to it, and bar out, bro. I just had my severe incident alert from the British government. It's a test, says Andrew. Okay, Holly Davidson's just having a really stern chat to both teams, saying, you guys know what's expected of you. Any more ill discipline from the sides, and we might be sending someone to the bin. And come on, the Irish girls, you got this, says Dennis. 12 and a half minutes through at this point in time. Oh, okay, I get you. So, Andrew, your same emergency alert that you got was actually the same one as the teams got, which is why there was a little bit more of a stoppage. So that may not have been as soon of a warning as it first looked. It was more so that they just had a stoppage in play. But yeah, test emergency alert. And boom, come on, the Wahine. That's enough for a 2-piece KFC pack, though, Hamish. That is true. Get myself a 2-piece quarter pack. Thanks, Akaris. That's a whole case of beers where I'm from, says Wim Mars. And come on, girls in the green, we can do this, says Richard. But they have got themselves a scrum feed now. Ireland just 10 metres out from their own try line. And it goes down, free kick for Ireland here. And we have got their Springboks need to work on their line out, says Blues Nate. And we have got their no you can't, says Mike. But that one hasn't found touch. Now stepping there, Renee Holmes, trying to move it back towards that 22-metre line of the Irish, but still situated around the halfway line here. The Black Ferns, not a lot of time inside of Ireland's half throughout the early stages of the contest. Now Demant goes on the outside to Bremner, thought about the offload, but getting tied up here by Eve Higgins, who just about manages to hold her up. Oh, well, okay, 2 points then. Says Akaris, now Mikaeli 2, offloads to Rus. Off to the right, New Zealand moving this ball nicely onto the wide channel where they have got Sorensen McGee, sells the dummy, goes to Stacey Waka, and that will be the first try of the match for the Black Ferns, and it is a run-in for the experienced Stacey Waka. That is exactly what they needed, just something to give them some confidence. We have their try, says Novmum. And also we get their line out in the middle and nowhere by the Springboks, debunked by the All Blacks, says Blues Nate. And New Zealand tries, says Spook there. And we have got there, you need a bucket, says Ruth. Oh, I assume that's the bucket of chicken. But nice ball on the outside, Sorensen McGee, and then just no one back there. I recognise that lady. The crowd are booing at the moment. Who was that? Oh, it's Amy Lee Costigan. I was confused there. So she's no longer Amy Lee Murphy-Crowe. That's what kind of confused me, because I was like, hang on. I watched her on the 7 circuit, but no, she must have got married since the last time that I have seen her play. And Ferns' right edge is deadly. Says studs raise. And I thought she was playing for the Broncos, Stacey Waka. Says Blues Nate. There was that rumour, wasn't there? Is she actually signed with them for next season, perhaps? But New Zealand now, they did get the extra additional 2, so they sit there 7-0 over the Irish now. Demand. In fact, this time Renee Holmes. I think someone's down in the in-goal area. There might be someone training, though, or getting ready to make their way onto the field. Picked high. Chasing after it is Amy Lee Costigan. That's going to take a little bit of getting used to. We have got the I'm about lucky here, bro. It's on normal tally in Wales at 7-0. There's Andrew. Now running it forward to the halfway line. Parsons. This is where Ireland do need to fire back. They can't afford to let back-to-back tries. The Black Ferns in. It might be a bit too tough to be able to get back into it. Into the pocket now. On up is O'Brien. So taken by Demand. No pressure coming in on her. Finds the ball on the outside. In fact, this time goes into Georgia Miller. Ireland stand a small optimistic chance to win. Says Casper. Yeah, I think their best chance of winning is if they are the next team to score. I just think that one more here for New Zealand might end up putting them too far behind. They're very much a momentum team, Ireland. And when they're playing well and feeling like they're in the game, that is when they're the most dangerous. Waka puts the ball on the outside to Miller now. Breaks through the tackle with Brittany Hogan. One more pass to Sorensen McGee. Does the step. Can't quite get the pass away on the inside to Poldy Lane. And also we have got the not sure Hamish. Hard to keep up with the New Zealand girls. Says a Blues Nate. And also hi Hamish and everyone. Says Lilia, welcome in. Hope you're doing well. Advantage and in fact turns into penalty for New Zealand. About 25 metres out from Ireland's line. Hamish, your prediction score? See, in my head, I like to think this is going to be close, but I also do think that if the Black Ferns find their rhythm, we could be looking at about a 40-12, I would say, is my prediction here. And I know that sounds very harsh on the Irish, but they had a lot of early territory and couldn't quite break through. So I just wonder whether or not New Zealand could be the more clinical of the two sides. Scotty Stevenson doing a double. New Zealand versus South Africa and New Zealand versus Ireland. Says in Soviet Russia. Because what happened with Tony Johnson? Did someone... I think I saw it that he was initially going to be doing the All Blacks versus South Africa, but then 10 minutes into the NPC game or something, I think they had to reshuffle. That's going to be now the penalty going back after another knock on from New Zealand, but repeat infringements from Ireland inside of their 22. Yeah, lost his voice, didn't he? So they said, no, we're going to have to try and find someone else, and somehow managed to get it all sorted. Now, towards the corner, Renee Holmes will kick this one again. I sense another New Zealand try coming up in the next 2 minutes. Georgia Ponsonby, an important throw here. Butterfingers, says Mike. And Tony Johnson retired, bro. Give your job to Hamish. He's way better. I quite like Tony Johnson, though, to be fair. And I'm sure he'll still make his weekly appearance on the DSPN. He's in Soviet Russia. Now ready to throw it in almost a quarter of the way through this contest. Well claimed by New Zealand. Bremner goes off to Makeli too with the inside ball just short of the line there for Sylvia Brunt. Now Reese Poldy Lane, big barnstorming, bulldoze and run from Baliko. And that is now try number 2 for the Black Ferns. And TJ Mann says spooked there. That is going to be her first try of the Rugby World Cup. And they've gone back to back. That is the last thing that the Irish needed in this scenario. Game over, boom, says Mike. But it was the run from Makeli too. And also the dangerous inside ball to Sylvia Brunt, who all but got over herself. And he says random BG and well done, AB's Wahine, says Johnny Blaze there. And you can see the celebrations for the Black Ferns as well. They are loving it. What is ESPN? It's part of ESPN. It is not. It's like I think it's a radio station here in New Zealand, but it's also a YouTube channel based around, I want to say just rugby, but it could be sport as well. I've only seen a couple little bits and bobs. number one of many more to come. Well, that was number 2. I assume you're talking just for the prop in this Rugby World Cup. Almost charged down there. Well done from Ireland. Taken too long there to kick this one for Renee Holmes. It was a little bit of a wake-up call for the experienced fullback. That if she starts her movement towards the ball, the opposition are going to end up charging at her. Oh, did Ireland go early there? It's a tough one because I don't actually know if she completely started her walk into the ball there, but it worked out, and Ireland stopped the conversion. Nicely taken inside of the 22 for New Zealand. Here comes the run from Leila Sai. That first game, she was absolutely phenomenal. And a sloppy by Renee says all in the game. But it's one of those ones that you'd rather have it happen here than happen in a big match. So it is unfortunate, but I don't think it's going to be the end of the world for the Black Ferns. They'll just have to be aware of that moving forward, as other teams might look to do that now. Up against Holmes kicking. Now off to the left. A little grubber attempted in behind here from O'Brien towards Amy Lee's wing. Now, Demant, 40 metres out, tries the offload to Georgia Miller, who tried to grub her at forward and now has knocked it on. So Ireland got themselves the ball. We have good there. New Zealand will drop 50 plus, says Robert T. You see, 40 points to 12. Oh, no, little knock on the ground from Ireland, so it will be scrum feet now for New Zealand. You think this New Zealand side, I do think they looked at times better up against Japan than they did up against Spain, but still had quite a few early shaky moments. These are the scores from their recent games. Like 62-19 up against the Japanese. I'd say they'll be more than happy with that scoreline. Maybe the 19 conceded is where they'd say that they're slightly disappointed, but if there's a way of them keeping Ireland to 1 or 2 tries, maybe even just the 1 or even none in this game, that will be a massive confidence booster heading into those quarterfinals. What won't be, though, is an injury here to the tight ear prop. She is down at the moment, looking like she's in all sorts of pain for Canulo Vale. Looks like maybe it's the left shoulder, I would say, is the one giving her a little bit of trouble at the moment. And we have got there what's after 7-0. Low 12-0 plus 2 is 24. Are you sure it's not times 2? And when it's South Africa's game, says Don, South Africa's game will be taking place in pretty much 1 hour, 30 minutes. And we will be covering that one on the channel as well. Up against the French. That is going to be the top of the table clash for Pool D. Oh, was that? I think Makeli too. They might have to check something in there. She looked like she was not quite throwing punches, but she was certainly using a fist as a bit of a tool there in the breakdown. I don't know whether or not that was because of her injured teammate, that she was trying to move the Irish player. So she's like, well, I'll just give her a couple short ones just to get her out of position. We have got there Hope in Ireland. We'll give our New Zealand girls a solid game today. So here's Blues, Nate. And 53 for the Black Ferns, 10 to Ireland. Yeah, more than likely, if the scoreline stays the way that this is, it would be the winner of that France versus South Africa game would face Ireland. And the loser would face New Zealand in the quarterfinals. The ball to be fed in now for the Kiwis. Going off the back, Makaeli Tu'u. Going to Risi Polri Lane. We've got 55-12 for New Zealand to win. Says Don there, and this is a good run from Sorensen McGee, although she gets driven towards the sideline. She's asking for a penalty advantage here to the referee, and she will get it. And they will go back now for that penalty. That's how it is, 5:35 p.m. Bockies will go to the semi-finals today. Well, first they got to win this game and then go to the... Well, they don't even have to win this game up against the French, to be fair. They just have to make sure they win next week to then go to the semi-finals. We have got, as well, All Blacks 2 minutes, says Mike. And who's your favourite female rugby/league player? Mine is Jasmine Peters from Cowboys. And Hammer's X for her 2 obvious reasons, says Johnny Blaze. I know that a lot of people would pick Georgia Miller right up there in terms of one of their favourites at the moment. Also, for what she's been able to do for the women's game, you've got to go with someone like a Portia Woodman-Whitcliffe. Like, she's been around for so long and now is an all-time record breaker for New Zealand when it comes to tries scored across the men's and the women's game. So, yeah, great advertisement for women's rugby in terms of the way that she composes herself on the field and also holds herself to high regard off it. I feel like that's a very different answer to what you gave. Yours was for, you could say, 2 very different reasons, as the quote was from yourself, but But no, I'll go Portia. Now, drop ball there, and it's going to be knocked on by New Zealand. Ireland only 10 metres from their line. Make that 5, make that into their in-goal area, and they're going to have to go right back now. And Sophie de Goat is a rugby cheat code, says all in the game. Another try for New Zealand at the moment. They are just sitting with the 2, 12-0. The way that it sits, but the handling error in the front row from Veliko, the try scorer. And Morning Roof says Manu there. And Brack's attack says Spook there too. But 24 minutes through what is a game that is absolutely flying by. In fact, most of the games this weekend have kind of only felt about 60 minutes. George Miller and Portia aren't lookers. I'd be running away from them. Says Johnny, well, normally they're the ones running away from the opposition, aren't they? And scoring tries with all the defenders they've beaten. Georgia Miller probably still has the best individual try of this Women's World Cup from that first game up against the Spanish and the amount of tackles in a row that she was able to get through. And now ready to feed this ball in. Going off to the left-hand side. Going deep with the kick from O'Brien. Almost got her leg swept. That one goes into touch, sitting 22 metres out for the line. Georgia Ponsonby now with the line-out throw. And players like the Bremner sisters get no love. Do a stack of hard work, hit rucks, win line-outs, etc. Says Studs Race. Yeah, very underappreciated aspect of the women's game sometimes is just that ruck game. You know, keeping that ball on the side. There can be in certain contests, you know, you see quite a few turnovers in the breakdowns just from teams trying to be more physical. But yeah, Bremner, like, I do think she is the right lady for the job in terms of captain for what she's been able to do for this side. Now, nice run forward. Ball pops out the back. Bremner going away to Resi Poldy Lane. Now looking for a gap. Stacey Waka finds the offload. One more pass on the outside from Portia Woodman-Wycliffe, but it goes into touch over Miller's head. There's a high five that is exchanged, but just a bit too much height on that pass from Portia Woodman-Wycliffe. Now we have there. How much sleep did you get in? I think I got like maybe, I want to say 6 or 7 hours. Optimistically 7, but probably more like 6, I would say. It's a radio sports show on YouTube. Says in Soviet Russia. And Joel, correct accent, says Johnny. And we have got there Patience, those 2 points. Oh, Bremner's just taken a nasty cut. Okay, that was interesting. Demant was asking the question to Bremner, do you think there was like intent behind it? And she's saying it pretty much in front of the referee, seeing whether or not they're checking. And the ref said, no, we've already checked it. We've already talked to her about it. It's all good. And out says Lou's Napier, yeah, this looks bad. It doesn't look like it's stopping the bleeding anytime soon, so they will possibly need to stitch that cheekbone up. And Box ladies could be very satisfied with their performance at the World Cup, but I think the gap between them and France today and New Zealand quarterfinal is just a bit big of a bridge. Yeah, see, the game today up against the French, it's going to be a very interesting one to find out where they sit, because of course beating Italy was absolutely huge for them, but then we've got to remember that France beat Italy 24-0, so it will take a big performance from these South Africans, but I feel like every game for them is a learning experience, and it only takes 80 minutes to be able to cause an upset. So even if they were to lose to France, if they find themselves through to the quarterfinals and they can use that physicality to their advantage, who knows what could happen. We were waiting for that really big upset in the Women's World Cup. The biggest so far was actually South Africa beating the Italians. So who knows if they can do it again. I expect a Springbok jersey or temporary Springbok tattoo on one of your cheeks when commentating the next game. Well, you're going to be expecting it, but it's not going to happen, unfortunately for you, Casper. We have got there, gives women some money, says Spook. And also, when did you expect the All Blacks to peak this year? Or when do I expect them? I think it's going to be later on in November if they're going to peak. I don't think they've quite got their selections right as of yet. I think there's a few guys that when they come back from injury are going to be able to walk their way straight back into the starting lineup. Now overthrown by the Irish. That is not what they wanted. Georgia Ponsonby able to claim that ball. Almost knocked it on the ground as she was regathering. Now New Zealand again. Good position on the field. What are Kiwi's second team normally? If New Zealand ain't playing, is it box? Depends on who you talk to. I think that some people would say that Australia are their second team. Other people would be extremely offended if you said that Australia were your second team in New Zealand. Some people say South Africa. Some go with like those Pacific Island sides, such as a Fiji or a Samoa, but I think it just depends on which side you really like. But throughout the Rugby World Cup, it seemed to be that no matter where you were from in the world, a lot of people's second team were the Fijians after that group stage match up against the Welsh. Not sure if you've left yet. I'm going with New Zealand. 80 minutes to cause an upset, but years of training to make the 80 minutes count. There's Casper. Looks like another injury here. This is actually same player. His shoulder injury earlier on. Now she's getting some strapping on the leg too. Miller a machine, says Mike. That's how Africa will take the World Cup this year. Says Casper. So they're just checking whether or not they do need to make that switch for Amy Rule, or of Amy Rule. She is not on the field as of yet. I can maybe see the ABs doing the Grand Slam later this year. Says in Soviet Russia. Yeah, see, they've got some tough challenges around the corner for those November matches, but I think with that slightly more extended squad and, you know, there are a lot of players who will be back in November. I feel like that's good because that adds that little bit more competitiveness. We've got there na. Nice try, Black Ferns. Got a trick for you, says Mike. 2 tries so far for the Black Ferns in this contest. Looking for that bonus point. 2 more needed. Great defence for the Ferns, says John Tipu. And Paul Miller, awesome, says Ruth. Big scrum here from Ireland. It's gone down in the front rows and they will get the penalty. This is where first 5 minutes or so, we really only saw New Zealand inside of their own half. Now at this point in time, we have really not seen Ireland exit their own half for the past maybe 20 or so minutes of this game. Personally, my second rugby union team has always been the Springboks. I was and still am a massive fan of Brian Habana and Buckius and Bismarck Duplessis. I love watching these guys play as a kid. And karate moves, sweep the leg, says Mike. 1 scrum penalty so far in this game for the first 29 minutes. Line out chance here for Jones. About 40 metres out from their own line. It's going to be thrown to the back. Nicely taken by Brittany Hogan in the bright blue headgear. Across to the left-hand side. This is where Ireland needs something going. And they've got the penalty advantage to help them work up the field a little bit more. Big collision in the middle of the park. Now, way to the left-hand side and behind. Eve Higgins tries to step, but she's shut down. They'll go back for the original penalty. I generally go for Southern Hemisphere teams, but Wallabies most. We have got there. Casper is South Africa ladies win the World Cup this year. I'm prepared to go naked on the Kiwi Lads channel. I will say the Kiwi Lads channel cannot condone this because or else we would get probably banned. But you're free to do it somewhere else, I guess. But yeah, it would be honestly one of the biggest. In fact, I would call it if the Springboks women's side win this World Cup. Across men and women's Rugby World Cup competitions, I would consider that the biggest upset of all time. Just because, you know, normally the sides that do win it are right up there in the contention. But, yeah, it would be incredible for them. Other teams are Fiji, Wales, Japan, Samoa, Pumas. Love the box, but support or struggle to truly support them. Says Studs Rays and come on Ireland, says the Hobbit. How you doing? Preview 1 and 2 this week. Not too sure yet. It sounds like Russ is going to be announcing his side as early as tonight. Or actually, it's 9 a.m. South African time, isn't it? No, as early as Monday morning South African time. So, yeah, that is actually the case that Russie could announce it in about 15 hours for the second match. Oh, ball is claimed there for the Irish. Trying to get the steal and the breakdown just not quite working out. Off to the left-hand side again here. Digging away for this ball in the breakdown, Ireland. Quick hands, nicely done. This is where they need that try, a breakthrough. The thing is, they're only down by 12. So another try in this match for New Zealand might be the difference maker. But if Ireland can score now, they are back in the contest. Another attacking run forward from Jogan. Now ball on the outside. Quick hands, but everything's being caught behind Ireland at this point in time. Nothing really out in front. Which is really hurting them. It's that rush defence from New Zealand. Back across to the right-hand side there. Back at the halfway line now. As far up the field as 30 before. Big clean out on Georgia Miller in the breakdown. Now taken back by Ireland. Looking for a bit of territory. Nicely taken by Renee Holmes inside of her 22. She kicks it down the middle of the field again. And women and men New Zealand rugby teams good at keeping teams tryless first half. Says the Hobbit. Now kick downfield from Stacey Flood. She will chase after it. Getting into New Zealand's 22 with Sorensen McGee, Portia, Woodman, Wycliffe. Chance to run this one forward already. The most tries out of any New Zealand rugby player at international level. Looking to add a couple more in this matchup. Almost to the halfway line now for New Zealand. But in the breakdown, it's a big steal for Grace Moore. And that's a maybe bad injury here for Stacey Flood. Looks like she's holding her lower leg here. I use a spanner behind my name because I am a truck mechanic on our national N8 highway. I use a spanner behind my name. Have you got a spanner behind your name? For me, it doesn't have a spanner. It just has your name. We have got there also best wishes, Black Ferns, play smart. And Hamish must admit, missed our our group chat as I worked on ABs versus South Africa. Wasn't it brilliant? 51 Fortress defence. Black Ferns inspired, hope so, says Sana there. Yeah, it was certainly a big game at Eden Park. That looks like there were tears for Stacey Flood. I think she's in a lot of pain here, and there is going to be a little bit of a stoppage now while they do try and sort out that injury. But yeah, massive win for the All Blacks. They will be more than happy with being able to defend Eden Park. Sky Stadium next week. It's a bit of a different story because we have seen, every once in a while at Sky Stadium. In fact, it's not even every once in a while. It's once every second time that they play there. New Zealand have sometimes succumb to a loss. What's your second team, Hamish? Says Robert T. I really hardly have a first team in some regards. We cover South Africa and New Zealand the most on the channel. So I would say that those two are probably the top. But we'll cover a Fijian game absolutely happily. Or pretty much we'll cover any international game that we can watch here in New Zealand. Has anyone seen a jackal yet from the Black Ferns? I think there was one attempt there from Georgia Miller before and she got smashed in the breakdown. So I wonder whether or not they're being a little bit cautious in those situations just to make sure that they don't pick up any sort of awkward ones. If you look careful, you'll see an invisible spanner behind my name. See, that was my problem. I wasn't looking for the invisible one. We have got their Rasi team out tomorrow, 9 a.m. South African time. Says Hano. Yeah, I have no idea why he's going so early. I'll be completely honest. It just, I don't know whether that's to try and say, hey, look, this is how confident we are we're taking you down next weekend, or what the go is. But if there's any sort of little injuries, some of the guys will still be pretty badly hurting this week, or right now, and then they're going to have to go into that starting lineup. Normally, I don't know. It's just weird. Go early on a Wednesday. Or go early on a Tuesday like you normally would. I would say are the ones, but don't go on a Monday. No one goes on a Monday. We've got the Bokang. But will you cover the Springboks women's game? We certainly will be. We're going to be doing it on the channel straight after this game, starting in about 1 hour and 15 minutes time. There is an Irish baby with headphones on, or earmuffs, I believe it was. Then you must do prediction video pretty soon. Exactly. So probably what will happen is after that South Africa versus France game, I'll either end up filming a prediction by myself or filming it with someone else if I can organise it last minute, try and get it sorted. I'm not even sure when to upload it. I'd have to upload it pretty much as soon as possible, but then it will be nighttime in South Africa, so no one will actually see it anyway. So it's probably a bit of a redundant one for this week. I think we'll smash the All Blacks, says Hano. Arasi tries too hard to be wacky and eccentric. Says all in the game. And also Danny Herber was the GOAT, South African legend. Yeah, a lot of support in the stands for both of these teams. They are just still dealing with that injury of Stacey Flood, which is why we have still got that stoppage. But yeah, there's been great crowds all throughout this Women's World Cup competition. Stacey Flood now onto that stretcher, but I don't think she's going to be back for the rest of this World Cup, unfortunately, which is a shame because she's been solid at the back for this Irish team. But a big round of applause there in the stands for both sides, but particularly for Stacey Flood. She will make her way off And it will be McGilvray who makes her way on. I think we are getting like 10 to 12 changes. Yeah, I think we're going to see most guys who didn't play in that last match play in the second. But then that's the question mark. Definitely fly half-wise. Are we going to see Marnie Libok? Because he didn't play in the first game and he has travelled to New Zealand. It's a bummer for her, says all in the game. Yeah, it's a big shame. I think that she was one of those players for Ireland that could have helped them get back into it, but they will not let it get them down. They are currently 20 metres out from New Zealand's try line. I'll keep Hamish on his tippy toes for you. Hamish doing great. 15 flood says Blues. Nate nicely taken there at line out time, and this time Ireland do decide to try and get that rolling maul going. Now earlier on in the game they tried a bit of a fancy set piece that ended up with Campbell getting driven into touch, but I like this tactic. Try and be physical with the forwards. They are starting to move here a little bit, although New Zealand, did they go through the middle? Yes, they did. Oh, it's brilliantly defended by the Black Ferns. I think it might have been Bremner. She's only just made her way back onto the field after her cheek got reassembled. In fact, it might have been actually above her eyebrow looking at that where the strapping is. And Sasha 10 for me, Polly on the bench, then Moody 13 and Hooker 14. See, I'm the same. I'd like to see Sasha start with Pollard off the bench, but then you wonder what was the point of them having Lebok go all that way if they weren't going to play him. But then, yeah, it's a tricky one. Like, the lineup prediction is going to be tough. There's no denying that. The best fly half ever in the world was Nas Botha. Nobody will see the skills of Nas Botha ever again. Says Casper. And what about a Fijiana versus Wales? Fiji getting the win there. And there, which is absolutely massive. We look at there, the Fijian tackled the Welsh number 8 from behind and pulled down her pants. We got a glimpse of her G-banger. What's a G-banger, Johnny Blazer? I feel like I'm not hip with all the cool lingo. What is a G-banger? Now ready to put this ball in. Chance here to the right-hand side. Risi Poldy Lane going to Demant. Now Stacey Waka. Goes to Renee Holmes, who does a couple little quick steps, moves outside of the 22. Now to the right again, Risi Poldy Lane kicks downfield to Mant. Get a bit more territory. Here comes Eve Higgins with the run forward. Nice step from her. Moves up to halfway. Still 12 points to nil. New Zealand almost getting that steal in the breakdown. Bit of a rough pass from Ireland. Bounced in awkwardly, but cleaned up in the midfield with Dalton. Now, left again, big shot. Coming in on Campbell. New Zealand in the breakdown, and Makaeli Tu'u manages to get the steal. Miller plays halfback. Goes back across to the left-hand side for the Kiwis. 40 metres out from the line. Portia Woodman Wycliffe getting almost driven into touch in the defence from Parsons. You need a magic wand to understand all the lingo in the chat, says Casper. And as we look at there, a tattoo, says Ruth there. And but like thin little string thing, says Johnny there. But now pass on the outside. Chance for Sorensen McGee. Has she got the skill? She certainly does. Steps around the defence and gets the try for New Zealand. That is now the third of the match. That may have just put that nail in the coffin for the Irish in this game. The fourth try for Sorensen McGee of her Rugby World Cup campaign. At least we don't have to wait too long for the lineup, says Hanno. And I think Rusty named this team a couple of weeks ago. This is Rusty Erasmus for you, says Mornay. But yeah, it is one of those ones that if it works and South Africa win, everyone goes, oh, it was such a great play because it was early enough that even when they had time to adjust, they couldn't in terms of the New Zealanders. Or you end up in that scenario of announcing it early on, and then everyone, if you lose, say, well, you did it to yourself because you announced it too soon, so they had too much time to work out what to do against you. We need South Africa women to win. I don't want a New Zealand, says Haino. And rules. That was a class assist. I know Braxton did well, but that was awesome, says Studs Race. Now striking the ball. It does go over for Renee Holmes. And that will now make the score 19 points to nil. And go the mighty Black Ferns. And when in the week was the lineup announced for the second test match up against Aussie, it was on a Tuesday South African time. So it was an extra day from now. But yeah, I'd assume there's still a couple guys who would be 50-50 about being able to play after a few tough knocks over the weekend. Good defence from the Ferns, says John. Now Ireland just walking back up to the halfway line. It's like maybe the fatigue starting to set in. I just feel that Marnie is not getting the support from the coaches. He's our best attacking fly half. Doesn't get the protection and the support he deserves. See, for me, this is actually, it might sound a bit brutal. That's kicked out on the fall from Ireland. That is going to be brutal for them. But I think Marnie is fully backed by Rassie. And the thing with that is every squad, Rassie puts Marnie in. And the ones who aren't backing Marnie is actually the supporters. Or at least it seems to be about 50-50. It's a bit similar to what you see for someone like a Willie LaRue. How, some people really don't want to see him in the team, but there are some who appreciate what he does. And I think Marnie Libok's one of those players. We talked about it on the last live stream. Sasha Feinberg Ngumezulu, I believe, actually has a lower kicking percentage than Marnie Libok. That doesn't get talked about. But they love to talk about Sasha's attacking ability, whereas Marnie apparently that isn't important because he doesn't get kicks over, if that makes sense. It's kind of strange how it's the double standards of two very similar type of players. But, yeah. We have there, Rassie always uses lots of players, says Spook there. And hey, all house things, says Big Rig. I'm very well excited for that next contest. As well as the second half in this one. New Zealand working their way towards a bonus point. Now going off to the right-hand side. Now, Reese Poldy Lane passes across. Sorensen McGee knocks it on. A rare error from her. It's now going to be the scrum feed for the Irish. 19 points to 0. The moment, the way that it sits, Sasha Feinberg at 9 and Reinach at 10. Valimza 15, my prediction, and Lebok on the bench. Also, you're going no Pollard whatsoever. That's a bold call, but it could happen. Box just need a little Lebok magic, says Xander. And oh man, Billy was all out of sorts for Nuttall's try. You could also argue, though, for that one that Cheslin Colby also was. We've never seen Colby sell for a dummy that badly in his life. But, yeah, Billy definitely should have at least made a bit more contact with Nuttall than falling over the top of him. But I think the Box will look at that first game and go, there were things that they could have done a little bit differently. Now, bag scrum and too much movement, says Holly Davidson, so we'll have another reset. We have there, Marnie Libok didn't play, so we need someone else to play him now, says Johnny. And they need to give New Zealand Libok to me. And Wonder Woman Wycliffe and Georgia Terminator Miller, says Honey for Life. Yeah, two very dangerous players. I'll admit we haven't seen a huge amount of actually either of them throughout this first half. There's been a lot going to Sorensen McGee out on that right wing, as well as quite a bit of Stacey Waka and Brunt in that midfield. But anytime that Georgia Miller or Portia Woman Wycliffe do at least touch that ball, you know that meters are going to be made. That's a big scrum from New Zealand again. Ball out the back for the Irish. And it looks like they will just kick this ball into touch. It's going to be halftime, 19 points to 0. No Hamish, or no Andre Pollard at 10. At 12. I don't see it. I think that with the fact that they've got Damien Delende as well as Andre Esterhazen, if they were to chuck Pollard in at 12, they'd probably get even more criticism. But, I can see Pollard off the bench in some sort of split. We have there, come on ladies, remain calm. No fancy, risky, unnecessary panic, ladies. Says Sana, yeah, they are currently firmly in control of this matchup. Unless something absolutely huge happens for the Irish in the second, it does look like we're pretty certain. See New Zealand victorious in this game. We have got there Cake to ABs. Win, icing, go Razor Gang, says Spook. And if Lebok is in the team this weekend, then I really hope the Box lose. Well, they did lose last weekend, and he wasn't in the team. So, I know that you absolutely hate Lebok, and you try and find every possible way to bring him up anytime someone misses a kick. But, if you look at the amount of tries that the Springboks scored under Marnie for the Rugby Championship, even just last year, and you look at the amount of tries that they scored in this game just over the weekend, it was only really once Pollard gave the reins to Sasha that we started seeing the Box actually get 7-pointers. I want to see Polly at 12, but Dialendi does not deserve to be dropped, says Hano. We have got there also Kolb, says the Hobbit. What's the best? ABs are going to lose against again in Wellington. And also not looking good for the lassies in green, is it? No, although they are in just the kind of white kit for this match, surprisingly. I'm not actually too sure why they decided to make that switch. But yeah, Ireland, they just needed a try early to give them that bit more confidence. New Zealand are just grinding out this victory. When they fire it out wide, pretty tricky. Free Jesper Visa, he's available for the next game. So I believe he will be named as that number 8. And slow down a little bit. Ferns, regroup, fire again. No need for risky, panicky footy. So here's Gideon there. And we have got to sell new shirts, Hamish. I guess so. With the quarterfinals around the corner, I guess maybe a few people will buy that kit. Oh, is that in preparation just in case they play South Africa that they want to get maybe some people in the away kit in the stands, perhaps? Could be strategic. Oh, look at there. Caleb Clark looks like his dad with his haircut. So here's the Hobbit there. And if the Wallabies beat Argentina again, they'll be extremely tough at Eden Park. And with another one most likely out for the next game, do we revert back to Reece? Or is it Caleb Clark's spot? Well, the problem you've got with Caleb Clark is he's out on that left wing. And once again, looked like he had a pretty solid game up against Tasman. So I think we're most likely to either see Reece back or we'll see a switch and see Will Jordan out on the right wing and either McKenzie at 15 or McKenzie to 10 and Bowden Barrett at 15. That's my kind of prediction at the moment. Of course, we will do a full video about it later on in the week. Jesper Visa is the alpha dog on the field. Big fan of him. Do well in rugby league. Playing prop, very physical and aggressive. But fans happy with Damien Dialendi this season. I suggest he's not at his peak at the moment. See Studs raise. Yeah, see, it's a tricky one because in the second game up against Australia, I thought he was one of the standouts. Whereas in this game at Eden Park, it just didn't seem to quite work. Although that was the case with a lot of those experienced guys that we're used to seeing do well. But there was definitely a difference in the second match when we saw Andre Pollard, Dialendi and Colby all back for the South Africans. And then they went and changed it for the match at Eden Park rather than sticking with Fussy at 15. And, I don't know. It was just those little decisions that I think hurt the Box a bit. But they couldn't have predicted to drop the ball as much as they did either. How much do you think Jesper Visa will headbutt a Kiwi in the first or second half next week? I'd like to hope neither, because if he does, then he's going to be out for pretty much the rest of the season. And in the judiciary meeting, it'll be very tricky to try and say, I didn't mean to, and I'm not a repeat offender, when he's literally just come off a suspension for a headbutt. Brazil and Samoa leaving the tournament as the teams with the worst points, sadly, not a single point, dominated every game. Says Big Rig. Yeah, I mean, it's a tricky one, but once again, when you look at some of those lower-ranked sides, if you ask them, would you rather go to a World Cup and get smashed, or would you rather stay home and not be a part of it? Like, every team would say, yes, we'd like to go. Samoa having 3 points up against the English, I know it doesn't sound like a lot. Same with Brazil, managing to get themselves some points up against top teams. Like, it's still just about learning and enjoying the atmosphere of a World Cup. What about Sasha at 12, Lebok at 10, Pollard on the bench? You really don't want Damien Dialendi at 12, do you? It seems to be the main gist of it. And thanks, Samoa team. See a spook there? Oh, where'd that go? Where did that go? It has completely disappeared, ladies and gentlemen. I can't find my cat. One moment, I'll reach around. I'm doing it blind at the moment. There it is. Got it. We have there lots of Samoan best players couldn't make it, work commitments, etc. Says Studs raise. And that also does make it tricky for those lower ranked sides. And have to put Rico at 13. If the Box bring the youngsters in, they'll eat Proctor alive, Sasha especially. Says Knight Rider. And yeah, need support from New Zealand, says Spook. In there as well. And I think Razor's still doing the Razor dance. We saw him do a little hop and a skip when New Zealand scored in that game up against the Box. I think he was thoroughly excited for what was happening. But this is the bench for these two sides, ladies and gentlemen. In this contest, we have already seen a couple changes made. Seen number 22 for the Irish, McGilvery. She has made her way on, and that was for the injury of Stacey Flood. Alongside that, we've seen both front rowers struggling a little bit in terms of the propping department. We almost saw Amy Rule make her way on. But for now, in fact, she was on for that Sorensen McGee try. So I think they may have already made that switch. I just actually saw her in the highlights. Still a few decent options. Teresa Stefano, and number 22. I wouldn't be surprised if they go 40 minutes for both her and Reese Poldy Lane. Just the 3 tries so far. Territory and position is actually extremely close. In fact, tackling's pretty close too. Everything in terms of numbers, with the exception of meters made, other than that, it's actually quite even on the board, and then also the scoreboard not sitting so even. And there 3 line breaks for New Zealand, 5 penalties apiece from both of these sides. At the moment, the way that it sits, this would be New Zealand's spot, ladies and gentlemen. The 12 midnight game on Sunday morning New Zealand time, or that's also Saturday night, depending on how you like to look at midnight, but it would be New Zealand, and at this point in time, they would be playing France. Now, that can change. If France managed to beat South Africa, they would end up facing South Africa in the quarterfinals, the Kiwis. And then at this point in time, Ireland would be in this one up against whoever wins that South Africa versus France match. So there is a chance that we see 2 Women's Six Nations rematches taking place on the last day of the women's quarterfinals. We have got there Willems at 15. Hamish and Fussy on the bench. I think they'd be more likely to go the other way around just because of the fact that Willemse can offer you a couple more positions. The fact that he can play 12 as well as 15 or 10. So they might go the other way with that. But I do think Willemse could find himself somewhere in here. You've got there, congratulations to Tonga for qualifying to the World Cup. Yeah, massive achievement for the Tongans. I believe that whoever wins that USA versus Samoa game next week also will qualify for the World Cup competition. And then the other side has to go through that really long and strenuous process of a repechage. So you really don't want that. You'd rather just be locked and loaded, ready to go for that World Cup. This changing in the starting lineup is creating problems for the Box. Rassi should put more trust in Mani as the general and Sasha as his deputy. If he is serious about making and I assume you ran out of characters there. The Box great, maybe, something like that at the end. If Pai had a strong game off the bench, DMAC 2, says Studs Race. Yeah, I think McKenzie, there's always that debate of Bowden Barrett or McKenzie, who's going to be that guy. But I actually think that McKenzie, every time he's come onto the field, at least in recent times, he's managed to change a game for the better. There haven't been too many times that he's made his way on and he's kind of butchered anything and made it worse for the Kiwis. We have got there True. They have a far better team. A couple Māori girls, few Islanders, maybe Fijian. Says Mike there. McGee, another one coming. Yeah, she's already got 4 throughout this Women's Rugby World Cup. So I do think we're going to see a lot more. Irish girl is hotter, says Sonny. I assume you're talking about the thumbnail. Now, the sad reality is that Irish girl is probably going to be out for about 3 months now because her leg got snapped in half during this game. So if you like casts, you found your girl. We have got there, good day for Japan, back-to-back international wins, hours apart. Says Big Rig. Yeah, the Japanese, they're hanging in there. I feel like a little bit of a dark horse in certain regards. And I think something's building for them in 2027 for that Men's World Cup. Depending on what draw they get, be a very handy type of side. We have got there, DMAC plays great in wet games, says the Robert. And Oswego, the Razor is a disco dancer, says Ruth. He wins the rugby championship. We might see him disco dancing. That's the thing. We haven't actually seen Razor win a big competition yet. He's won series before up against certain teams. But would he bring out the breakdance if they were able to win the rugby championship, I wonder? That would send the rugby world wild. I can tell you that right now. There would be a lot of people who would thoroughly dislike that. But who knows? Breakdancer for the Crusaders and happy Father's Day, fam. And I hope all the dads out there have a blessed day with y'all's families. Says Johnny Blaze, and also proud of you, Team Samoa, who's made us all Samoans proud. It's never these scores, but you made it there, did your best. That's more than enough to be proud for. Also, Les Taro, says Sana there. The second half, very close to starting up. Wonder whether or not New Zealand just can kind of secure that bonus point early out of that lead break, Amish. It was just, I think it was in the breakdown and it just ended up getting kind of bent the wrong way. So she ended up going off on the stretch. Can the Springboks still win the championship? They absolutely can. In fact, I can go as far as saying every single team can still win the rugby championship from here. There is no one that is far enough ahead that no one can catch them. For the New Zealanders, they have got Australia on their tails. If they lose their next game up against South Africa, then we'll end up seeing some sort of possibility of a bit of an order change. Do you think Ludiaka should start this Saturday coming? I think he'll be somewhere close to that starting lineup. Although I also do think that Ruanokia did very well up against New Zealand. And yes, there were a couple lineouts lost for South Africa, but I don't think that can be purely blamed on him. Black Ferns game player women games. And the best older Black Ferns, Giancarlo there, welcome in. Of course, if they win this game, they will be facing the loser of South Africa versus France. That is the game just around the corner that we are also covering on the channel. That one kicking off in around 55 minutes time. Just looking at the clock here. I might have to change my start time of that next live stream, as this one has run a little bit longer in terms of the halftime break than we thought it would. So I'm going to quickly just reshuffle that one so that it is 5 minutes before the game rather than 10. And we have got there, I'm hoping half of all teams in with 3 wins. And then we go to points difference. Yeah, see, that would be interesting. I think the bonus points could come into it, though, just a little bit. The fact that New Zealand were able to get themselves that bonus point in the second round when no one else was able to, that could be the difference maker in the long run. And the Springboks women win against France. It's going to be tough. Don't get me wrong. This one for them is not going to be a walk in the park. But at the same time, I do think that if they start well and they use that physicality, I would almost argue that if they get it right, they can be more physical than France. But the problem is, can they get it right for 80 minutes? Or will they start to slow down and allow the French back into the game if they score first? Our woman causing delays, saying, I'll be ready in a minute. Even at half-time, says Big Rig Joe. And also we have got there, well done, Manusia. And Samoa girls done the nation proud. Let's go. And Scott Barrett looks at time jealous when Artie does something amazing. Does he? I think that's just Scott Barrett's face in general. He just often looks confused. It's probably because, as well, like he's always got that strapping around the head. I think maybe sometimes they do it a little bit too tight. So it's probably half the time just trying to fight with his eyebrows, trying to get them back where he'd like them to be, and then that kind of brings on that face of half by confusion. No scooter captain, and Artie's spiritual leader. You see there, Portia Woman Whitcliffe having a little bit of a dance when she saw she was on the big screen. Now second half, just about to start up here between these two sides. Do let me know your end score prediction, ladies and gentlemen. Does Ratama slot straight back in if he's available and push Preston out? I think Christie did bloody well for what was asked of him. I actually think Finlay Christie had one of his best games in an All Blacks kit. And even the Christie haters throughout the last kind of 24 hours or so have said credit where credit's due. He actually, he stepped up, did what he needed to. So honestly, I would almost consider starting him in the second match. If you're looking at going with a similar backline, maybe Ratama off the bench. I almost wouldn't even risk Ratama in the second test match. I think you just go Christie and Preston again. But, of course, that is easy to say now without it being, the Box will do that research and they'll work out what they need to do differently. Now kicked off for the second half, though. We are back underway, nicely taken at the back from Sorensen McGee. And I agree, I wouldn't risk him, says Oosh the boys. Yeah, because the last thing you need is him to be out for longer when you've already got Hotham and Roygaard out at this point in time. There are still more games of the Rugby Championship. That game up against the Wallabies at Eden Park, maybe that's when you see him coming back. And we have good there. Thank you, Hamish. Christie, great game too. Says Spook. A kick downfield from the Kiwis. I believe it was Renee Holmes. Sinks the slipper into it. Taken at the back from the Irish. For the kick off the left boot. And well, handled again from Holmes, running onto it. Here comes Demant. He's driven backwards. So far, New Zealand have pretty much avoided injuries with the exception of the tight head prop. So I would say if they can get through this next 40 minutes without too many other troubles, they would be pretty happy indeed. But now pass on the outside. Waka going into the hands now of Portia Woodman Whitcliffe. Cutting back inwards, getting through the tackle attempt of Higgins. There's not a lot of contesting going on in the breakdown at the moment. I think Ireland want those full 15 ready to make those tackles. I don't underestimate the Wallabies. They keep turning up. Exactly right. Which is why they will want their strongest team available. Which is also why you don't want to let too many injuries creep in before that game. A smash and roll with the crowd goes wild. So here's Mike, but now kicked downfield again by Ireland. This type of game at the moment, it plays straight into New Zealand's hands. Unless, of course, they lose that territory battle. Looks like Sorensen McGee is going to go for a kick. Doesn't often have to. Doesn't quite get it down to where she would have liked, and it's a great counter-attacking chance for the Irish now. Ball's there. Cross to the right-hand side again now. Just trying to look for where that gap is. I think it's about that second or third defender over. And if Ireland can try and pierce through that gap, can find themselves with a bit of success here. But a good driving tackle from Stacey Waka. Ball goes backwards, regathered by Riley. New Zealand 3 in the breakdown. Now pick and go. Passes it off into that gap that I mentioned. There's a massive opportunity here for the Irish. 5 phases in. New Zealand caught scrambling on defence. Couple quick hands. Ball on the outside. Fend on demand. Sa'i has to make the tackle 10 metres out for the line off the run of Dalton. Now flat attacking. Run forward from the prop O'Dowd. Player down for New Zealand. I believe it is Sa'i. Now Ireland with Georgia Miller though in the breakdown. Trying to rip away the ball. For the counter ruck doesn't quite work out. 5 metres from the line, the crowd starting to get behind this Irish team. They would love to see the underdogs get themselves a try here. Tackle from Bresi Poldy Lane. That was say, oh, is that a deliberate knockdown? She's saying it was in the process of a tackle, but it is going to be play on just for now. Both sides kind of half by stopping, expecting a penalty. There is going to be the advantage still. 12 phases in for Ireland. So this is the start of a potential second half comeback. Going to the right, missing everyone with the pass. Picked up by Eve Higgins. It's now 20 metres out. They're still under the advantage here. Referee Holly Davidson letting it flow just that little bit more. I think after the fact that they're up to 15 phases, they may consider going back here soon. But Ireland still liking their chances. Now across to the left-hand side. The advantage is now over. I think it was for a knock-on rather than a penalty. Back across to the right. Up to 18 phases in a row here. New Zealand defence holding strong. Not quite breaking through. Massive shot on Nevo Dowd again in New Zealand. Wait a minute. We got a time off here. Right. Okay. So there's no foul play if both players are ducking down with their heads, is pretty much the comment there, because I believe they were checking to see whether or not there was foul play involved on one of the Irish ladies. Penalty call it, ref, says the Hobbit there. Italy just broke 50 against Brazil, says Big Rig. You see, that's the thing. I think that Italy will be absolutely kicking themselves for the fact that they weren't able to get that win up against the South Africans. They were so close as well. But yeah, massive shot from Stacey Waka. I think we're just trying to wait to see. They haven't actually shown the replay of the one that they were looking for. And there's just some nice offloading there. Okay, I think there was just the question of whether or not, because they lost ground, whether that penalty advantage was going to come into play. But I think Davidson said no, as they had plenty of time to be able to keep going. Are they stronger than Ireland or Australia? Yeah, Italy are the best team not to make it to the quarterfinals, says Big Rig. And Buyaka, so good for the Black Ferns, says Mike. And great commentary, Aaron, says Studs Race. Appreciate it. I think I missed a lot of messages. I think probably about 30 or so in a row. Do Springboks have a lot of injury? You'd assume not. If for us, he's going to announce his side on Monday. You'd think that everyone is medically cleared and ready to go for match number 2. You had to say no one was injured, says Big Rig. Yeah, you can normally jinx it pretty quickly. In fact, that happened, it's like 2 phases after I said it. Chrissy should back up his performance. Can't have one good game and bad game. More often it happens like that. Says Mornay. Yeah, so we see the collision there. It was just a bit of an unfortunate one that Rus, as well as, I want to say it was McMahon, ended up just ducking down. Imagine 5 players limping onto the pitch in Cass, says Big Rig. Great defence, Stacey Waka and the Ferns. Yeah, it was a good driving tackle. Just forcing the Irish back that bit further. Currently 36 minutes remaining in this contest. For Ireland, they need something big. Blatant forward pass for this. I assume that's for the first try, maybe, is what Andrew was saying there. Now we have got their World Rugby going to do something about ball carriers leading with their head. Doesn't seem like it, but there are a lot more collisions that are happening than normal. The Ferns have definitely tightened up the defence. So here's Mr. and Mrs. Manu, and it will be a great test for them. Does look like the HIA. It's a hug for McMahon, who will have to make her way from the field. She does not look like she's too stable on the feet at the moment. And Ireland says spook. And somebody get a try for the Irish. That was as close as they have been to being able to score it. Nice try, too much forward pass. So here's Mike there, and also when do the Springboks women play if they win today? Or who do they play? So pretty much they will play, if they win, up against the Irish. Let's just say that is if this was the result at the end of the game. So pretty much, if South Africa win up against France, they face second in this group, which is the loser of this game. If they lose to France, they face whoever wins this game. So at the moment, it's looking like it will be New Zealand versus South Africa, unless something drastic changes. You can't row low without leading with your head. Well, sorry, you can't run low. However, their blatant forward pass for the first Black Ferns try. So here's Andrew. Yeah, there's been, like I mentioned, there's been a lot of forward passes throughout this weekend. Some have been called, some haven't. For New Zealand, though, 2 other tries throughout this contest, and it could be a third here with Portia Woodman-Whitcliffe in possession. Currently 45 metres out from the line. Working the breakdown from Ireland to almost get themselves to steal. Amy Rule now. A placement tight here. The defence Black Ferns have is mighty. And currently in cricket news, the English put on a score over 400 against us. That's not ideal. They're obviously annoyed about what happened in the earlier matches. And yeah, WWE says, does Mike, and that's going to go as a knock on for Georgia Miller. Smile on her face. See, I'm quite curious about something here. New Zealand, there's a few times that we've seen them make mistakes in this game. And there's big smiles. My big question is, if this was up against someone like England in the final, or up against Canada in a semi-final, would we see smiles on the face, or would it be frustration? I do think in this game, they know that they are winning easily, so it's probably very easy to be casual and happy about being out there. But I wonder whether or not that attacking switch, is it going to be there for the Black Ferns? Surely they'll be able to find it. They've done it before. There's having head in front of your hips and having your head at the same level as your hips. Says Studs Race. I wouldn't be smiling. Says Oosh the boys. And Amy Rule, Invercargill, solid player, representing the Deep South. And that's going to be a free kick now going the way of New Zealand. If this was England or Canada, you wouldn't see us smiling until the 80th minute. Says Big Rig. Now it's going to be kicked in behind. I see taken by Ireland again. Come on, girls, says Blues Nate. Now chipped by the Irish. That one almost going towards a 50-22, but Demant is back again. Now Renee Holmes off the right foot. And again, I'll mention it, the territory battle and the kicking back and forth, New Zealand's still leading by that 19 points. They don't mind time being taken out of this game for the aerial battle. You watch highlights from 70s, 80s. Rugby, there were so many forward passes not called, says Xander. That's a good kick in behind from New Zealand, forcing Ireland right back to only 5 metres out from their line. No option but to kick into touch. And New Zealand getting about a 70-metre territory gain there. Do you think Ireland doesn't have or doesn't believe they can win? It's a tricky one. I think they well and truly felt like they were up for it earlier on in this match, but I think it's a bit similar to what we saw between England and Australia. Australia were down by a few points heading into the halftime break. I think it was maybe about 17-5 or something like that. And Australia were on the halfway line just as it hit the 40 minutes, and they kicked the ball out. And I do think those little moments, to me, normally tell you whether or not a side's looking to get back into a contest or whether they're just looking to get to 80 minutes. Now, of course, this is also about preservation because big game round the corner for the Irish in the quarterfinals, but they were the same. They were 19-0 down, kicked the ball into touch at the halftime break, even though they could have got an attacking move going if they really wanted to. But, as long as they play for their 80 minutes in their quarterfinal, they will be right up there. Because if they're playing up against the French, drop ball from Amy Rule, went backwards. But yeah, it could be a very intriguing type of game. Cross kick attempted, goes straight into the hands of Georgia Miller. She steps, doesn't pass, gets 2 tackles on her, gets back up to her feet, tries again for Georgia Miller. I think if that inside ball had gone in, that would have been a certain try for the Black Ferns. When you're a player like Miller, though, you'd expect to score 90% of the time. Oh, Amy Rule in that bit closer to the try line. Risi Poldy Lane. She has Georgia Miller to the left, but they will skip her and use the backs. Renee Holmes tries the cross kick. Sorensen McGee knocks the ball on, and Ireland have survived the attack from New Zealand. Waka gets the turnover in the breakdown. And we'll go back for the scrum. I jinxed her whoops, says Ush the boys. Michaela Breaker is pregnant, says Dar. She certainly is. She is currently not playing for the Warriors, of course. If South Africa beats France, who do they play in the quarterfinals? If they beat France, they'll face Ireland. So I honestly think for the South Africans, their best chance of making it through to the semi-finals is to beat France in this game here. They have to play this like it is their quarterfinal match, and if they don't win it, they go home. But then that can also bring injuries if you're trying hard. My prediction for this game is 21 Ireland, 19 Kiwis. There's Casper. What's up, bro? Says Ethan. Welcome in. Hope you're doing extremely well. Just a knock on there for Sorensen McGee. Ireland, that's probably one of their best defensive efforts throughout the game, I would say, in terms of not just quite letting New Zealand through. The 2-woman tackle on Georgia Miller. And just female footy Amish, maybe they're all smiling assassins. Says John there. Oh, awkward bounce. That ball picked up by the Irish. Break down the wing. This is going to be a foot race. And unfortunately for Eve Higgins, she has lost it to about 2. Now off to the right. Riley. Little short pop pass up. With a replacement blindside. Now off to the right. This is Ireland's best chance of the whole game. I thought there might have almost been the knock on there in the breakdown. But man, just hang on to it. What's that? Nah. Okay, that was the wrong choice. Ireland decided to kick it from about 40 metres from the line to straight into New Zealand's hands, who kick it now back, and Ireland are inside of their 22. That was probably their worst decision that they could have made in that scenario, as they have now lost about half the length of the field. Kick downfield. Counter-attacking chance here for the Irish. Renee Holmes trying to sneak her way through. Great scrambling defence, Ferns. Is it 3:07 a.m. in Kiwiland? It certainly is, yes. Nice early morning start for this one. We've also got South Africa versus France around the corner too. Now, Ireland managing to get the steal on the breakdown now, going off to the left. Another offload. Brittany Hogan goes through her legs, picked up by Riley. Now again, the boot. No one back there. Foot race here. And Amy Lee, what was Murphy Crow? Oh, what an ugly bounce of the ball. And that is literally rugby at its finest. You're either going to get a bounce that is favourable, but for that one, that ball just started turning sideways. As soon as it was bouncing, it wasn't going dead in terms of the length, but it just kept on turning with a bit of curve. It was drifting towards the sideline. Amy Lee Costigan was winning the foot race well and truly, and that ball just disappeared into touch. And like I said, that can be rugby. The bounce of the ball sometimes is your best friend, or it can be your worst enemy. The coach can't help but smile, because literally what can you do in that scenario? And Ball said nope, says Suds Race. Yeah, Black Ferns fullback and defence said nope in that scenario. There was absolutely no one back there. Bad luck, says the Hobbit. And we have got there Damp Bill, says Spook there. And South Africa will play France as if it is the final. That is how South Africa operates. Says Casper. Do see a couple more changes being made here for New Zealand. Still sitting on the 3 tries. Luck of the Irish, says Hobbit. Like to know what the odds are. South Africa to win the World Cup, says Stefan. I probably can't give you the odds of them winning the World Cup, but I can give you the odds of them beating France, if that is something you're interested in. And I have to say it is not the highest, unfortunately, for the women's side. What we'll do is we'll click that button. So South Africa are $13 underdogs up against the French. The money line, as people call it, is 27.5. So it's expected for France to win that game by at least 27 points, or somewhere around that 27-point margin. Wow. That's actually incredible. I've just seen for any time try scorer, the lowest for South Africa is actually $3.15 for their two wingers. For a Cesar Ele to score is $4, even though she scored the first try last week. And she's an absolute tank in that number 8 jersey. Mox training in Porirua this week, Jerry Collins Stadium, I'm guessing. Says Studs race. And as the Black Ferns 15 currently in the lead, they are currently leading 19 points to 0 in this one. So we've just got a little bit of a stoppage here while they were getting some subs sorted out, a couple injuries dealt with. Odds of South Africa winning the World Cup is 0.07%. Well, there you go. We got any outright of this competition maybe? I'll see whether or not I can find that. Okay, sadly no outright at this stage because it is currently active. What is the betting odds against the Springboks and the All Blacks? That game, I believe, very similar to what we saw in match number 1, which is South Africa $2.40 underdogs. So they were $2.45 underdogs most of the time for match number 1, so slightly more favourites, but not really by a huge margin. Still waiting for the scrum to take place. Currently 27 minutes remaining in the fixture, ladies and gents. After this game, we are transferring straight over to that next game that has taken place between South Africa and the French. Bring on St. Patrick's Day. Says Mike. And South Africa was also the underdogs in their prior game, but they still won. Says Casper, that is true. Oh, actually, no, that is not true. Here in New Zealand, they were actually tied for the odds up against the Italians. It was actually a 50-50 game. But on some betting agencies, they may have had them as slight underdogs, or maybe some had them slight favourites too. We've currently got a very green screen here in New Zealand. Couple technical difficulties for Sky. Now we are back 25 metres out from the line. New Zealand got themselves possession. Ball comes loose again. Now it is going to be nicely picked up by Letienga in the number 23 jersey. I have a better chance getting Taylor Swift pregnant than South Africa winning the World Cup, says Mr. and Mrs. Manu. And also this is an exhibition game. Both teams are into the quarter, says Robert T. Oh, backwards there. Nicely taken. Stacey Waka going across. Renee Holmes onto the outside. Gives it to Sorensen McGee. Tries a little chip in behind. Ireland take the mark. She's going to get smashed in the tackle by Sorensen McGee as well. It gives a big smile to the referee as if to say, yeah, I know I wasn't supposed to do that, but I did it anyway. What are you going to do? And sadly, Ireland are not going to score. Uh-oh. This is another injury here for one of the New Zealand players. She's upside down, so I can't work out who that is. I don't think it is Letienga. She is all right. It might be another one of the front rows. This might be Veliko who has stayed down. That would be 2 New Zealand props injured just from this game, if that is the case. And we have got there, what is the Springboks record of winning in Wellington? They did beat them the last time. Wellington, the Box. We're talking about the textbook tackle of Sorensen McGee after a player took a mark. So that's not really a legal tackle. Right. Chris Veliko looks very sore at the moment. So some more subs being made for New Zealand now. Looks like there, Kennedy Tukuafu, she will make her way on. I also saw Kate Henwood. Bayfield came on a bit earlier on due to that injury of Bremner in terms of the cut, but she is now going off full time. And 2 props. New Zealand got plenty. Smiling at errors, unacceptable behaviour in any sport, Hamish. So shows overly confidence over any opponent. Let's hope it won't backfire and Ireland will have the last laugh like last year. Says Sana there. Oh, that's another handling error from Demant and a big bump off from Makaeli Tu'u. To the right-hand side. Bayfield already getting into the action for her second stint on the park. Demant with another pass on the 8th side. I don't know what that accent was. I don't think my tongue's been in the right place today after such a hectic few hours yesterday. Maybe it's just the overtiredness, but Bayfield now puts a short ball to rule. Pick and go again. New Zealand still chasing that bonus point. I mean, if Ireland could stop them from getting it, that would be a massive plus. What's the biggest rugby stadium in New Zealand? Biggest is in capacity or biggest is in, like, prestige? Now passed on the outside. Letienga going to cut back inwards. And going to be New Christchurch one. What place has your tongue been in, Hamish? Says Big Rig. It's a great question. No, just my mouth, but just, I don't know. I think it's because I've been practicing saying the South African names, and it's made my, like, I'm starting to almost feel like I want to click every once in a while from some of them. And deliberate against Ireland. So that is going to now be the penalty for New Zealand in front of the posts. We have got there, hey bro, are you watching All Whites versus Australia? When is it taking place? Voider. I would probably watch it if I'm awake, but I'm not too sure when it is. Irish defence has been fantastic this half, says Studs Rays. Kicking that one towards touch for Renee Holmes. Oh, okay, this isn't good. Amy Rule's now down with an injury. I think it's just maybe a bit of a knock on one of the shoulders. Do you think Rassi will step down this year? No, I think he wanted till 2031, didn't he? He wanted to lock in about a 5 or 6 year deal with South African rugby. We have a deal. Hey, Hamish, hi all, says Wild Lobster. Irish defence has been fantastic this half. They've really stepped up here, Ireland. I think if it wasn't for those couple tries that they probably would look back on and go, that was a bit soft from us, like they would still be in this match. Might get fired. They'd be pretty brave to fire Rassi. He seems like the type of bloke that would hold a grudge and would try and pick another random team to try and win a World Cup with. Now going off to the right-hand side, Letty Inga. Ball could be heading towards her. Now passing Renee Holmes. Goes to Letty Inga, and that will now be... Oh, no, in fact, it's out on the wing for Braxton Sorensen McGee. Oh. Okay, she's celebrating it. I thought for a second she may have actually dropped that ball in the one-handed Rico Ioane style of put down. And we have there Waka, says Studs Rays. Yeah, I fully expected to see Letty Inga out on that wing. That ball comes out pretty early. I want to see this replay from behind. I assume it was just the downwards pressure of her scoring it that ends up knocking it free. We're going to see it now. Oh, no, yeah, slammed it down first and then it popped out. We go there, try man, says Mike there. And Braxton tries, says no mum. So that's now her second of the day. She's heading towards that hat trick. Already 5 on the tally for McGee. Renee Holmes. Strikes it, coming round, and she gets it over 2. She just doesn't seem to be able to miss at the moment, Renee Holmes. Other than, of course, the early one that she did miss. But outside of that, she's been on point. And Awaka's a great 13. She's been doing extremely well. Also, that work in the breakdown, the distribution, that was a brilliant offload from Stacey Waka. And Rassi is signed up until 2035 by South African Rugby, says Casper. And great kick, says the Hobbit. And also we have their solid Black Ferns, says Mike. Kicked off again by Ireland, who's at 26-0 down now with 21 minutes left on the clock. Run from Kennedy Tukuafu off of the bench. Now Bayfield, she's been looking aggressive since making her way onto the field in terms of her ball running. Nice inside pass back though. Wasn't expecting the reshuffle or the return, I should say, from Letty Inga. I am working tomorrow, says Mohadeen. I probably won't be working Monday, which is today for us here in New Zealand, as I may not even get to sleep before about midday, I would say. If Rassi's announcing his side tonight, means that we will have to do that lineup prediction beforehand. Oh, yeah, no, nicely distributed by Renee Holmes too. Needs a lot of credit for being able to shovel it on to Sorensen McGee. How old is McGee? She's still in high school. She is 18. So I think she must have, or might have recently left school. Can you give her a shout out? Or can you give her a shout out to Tracy Miller? Says Robert, so shout out to her. Is that Georgia Miller's mum? Or someone else? Have an off day, brother. Or have a day off, says Mike and Stacey Waka, player of the game. Yeah, it'd probably be hard to deny, really. With, like, she hasn't scored a try herself, has she? But she has, wait, did she score an early try? Can't remember if she got one of the first ones or whether it was Sorensen McGee. Did get that one. Sorensen McGee is just 18 years old. So he's all in the game. It's like a few more changes for Ireland here on the front row. Shame there's been so many stoppages. It has been quite stop-start for this game. A few injuries to deal with, and also the subs, of course, in the second half are always going to be on and off that little bit. Arasi was signed up as coach for the 2027 World Cup and as water carrier for the 2031 and 2037 World Cups. So here's Casper. Now Monaghan making her way off. Irish bomb squad on. Are we allowed to call them that? I think the New Zealand commentator called the New Zealand forwards the bomb squad, making their way off the bench. So it seems to be something that's used quite commonly, and we've got another scrum reset. Okay, just a conversation there for Holly Davidson and the new front rows. Bombette squad. And that's Rugby Aaron says Mike. And more stop than play, says Spook. I'm glad I'm not the only one who's noticed that it's been quite a grindy speed to this matchup. Now, we have had quite a bit of time out of the game. In fact, it's running that long that we might have to actually stop this live stream like 2 minutes to go on the match so that we can start our next one. That's how long this game's going. And 50 plus could be on. Says Bruce. Now going off to the right-hand side, little chipper behind from the Irish. Bit of a gap there. It's going to bounce awkwardly, but in the end, it is going to be Brunt who picks the ball up. Renee Holmes running towards the sideline. 5 metres out from the line now. New Zealand under pressure from the Irish, who would love nothing more than to get themselves a try here. New Zealand, they will be able to look to put this one back into the pocket. Not massive in-goal areas here for Brighton and Hove Albion Stadium. Feels like New Zealand are keeping the game in a low gear. So here's Big Rig. And maybe it is to try and avoid any sort of serious injuries. Hitting throughout the last 18 minutes, exactly the game New Zealand needed. So here's Studs Race. Now, well done, ladies. Well, is it Karma fallen early on our Black Ferns Smiling Assassins? We now have 3 injuries ahead of the quarterfinals. So here's Sana. Yeah, a bit of concern in terms of those propping situations. Both starting props in this game went off injured to the extent we don't really know. Comfortable lead for New Zealand, says Novmum. Why do you think we don't see box kicks from the women? Less distance, I guess. Yeah, although sometimes a box kick, you want a shallow kick, don't you? So that it's a lot more contestable to be able to go up for. Now rolling maul here for the Irish, trying to go through the middle as Georgia Ponsonby and New Zealand almost being able to tie it up again, but it comes out the back now for the Irish. 10 metres from the try line. Demant trying to get that steal. 5 metres out now. Almost a steal and the breakdown for the Black Ferns. No, it's going to be Makali too getting penalised. She's been told to get out of it. Besides, she'll keep on trying to rip it away. Brittany Hogan, a player who I feel has had nowhere near enough ball throughout this contest for the Irish. Now just 2 metres short of the goal line. Rus trying to get the steal and the breakdown. Back across, rush defence from New Zealand. Waka and Miller. There was a little knock on as Waka yelled at Holly Davidson. We're there, No Deal Ireland. And today I did a one-on-one on this random dude and beat him 20-0. But then he gave up. Says Ethan. Now told to use it here for Ireland. Still just out from the goal line as they did decide to go for that quick tap option. This is great defence from the Black Ferns and a great test for them. Getting into their quarter-final. Big run and big drive from Ireland now. Cross to the left-hand side. Eve Higgins, she overran that pass. It's going to be handled well. Taken to ground. Still 15 minutes on the clock. Ireland theoretically work their way towards a bonus point here, even though it wouldn't change too much in the outcome of this game. It would certainly be the big booster heading into their next matchup. Now all the way to the right-hand side once more. Skip pass on the outside. Nicely taken by Amy Lee Costigan. Off to the left-hand side. Big 2. Woman tackle backwards. Again, New Zealand's defence up to 10 phases now in a row where Ireland find themselves still waiting to try and break through. O'Donnell spins out a 1 onto the ball now, and it is the penalty. Tukuafu does get the try. And Holly Davidson, she gave her a bit of a look there. As Tukuafu looked straight at her and started shouting, saying it should be a penalty. They have to be careful doing that. And I know that it doesn't matter in this game, But I just think through what we've seen recently, even as recent as the last Rugby Championship, we saw TJ Perenara get himself penalised for yelling at the referee. Is that the type of thing that we could see in this Women's World Cup? I don't think we've had a game that's had it as of yet. We've had a couple warnings to players saying if you shout at me again, you're going to be off the field. That's the defence we need against England. So here's the boys. Nicely taken there. Running sideways for Ireland. In fact, running actually straight sideways. Sometimes, it's on a 45-degree angle. That was literally line to line. And we're talking about the touch lines there as well. Going off to the right. Ireland round the halfway line. The retention game works against the Ferns. Ferns need to grub her through and kill the ball. Says Mumbo Jumbo. Oh, that's a big shot off the ball. It's going to be the advantage to Ireland. They get the penalty. Number 17. So that will be Kate Henwood. And did New Zealand score another try now? So they are on 26 at the moment. And I think after the match against Japan, the Ferns just worked on defending all week. Their defence is brilliant. Says Mr. and Mrs. And yeah, going into this next game will be absolutely massive if they are able to keep Ireland to 0. The players' treatment of the ref during New Zealand versus South Africa was shocking, both sides. Says Suds Rays. Yeah, it's almost, I think nowadays there's too much freedom for players outside of captains to talk to a referee. Back in the old school days, it used to be the captain would go up, there would be sirs that were said, like who was the culprit sir and all that. Nowadays, it's just anyone can just throw F-bombs at the ref and hope that that will be the one that influence the decision. Oh, it's overthrown. I see taken by Amy Rule at the back of the line out. Georgia Miller going off to the left-hand side. It's talked about a lot of people had her in their fantasy teams, but I don't actually think she's got that many points for this week. Awkward bouncing ball, nicely taken by Renee Holmes. Let's see if that does the commentator's curse and she scores herself a try here. Now, to Leti Inga. Roll, short ball to Makaeli Tu'u. I do think that that's the loose forward trio, though. Makaeli Tu'u. Oh, what was that? Holly Davidson almost blew the whistle. Whistle in favour of the Irish. Put the arm half up and then put it back down. Now, box kick coming here from Ireland. Looking to get a bit of ground in their favour. And players talk too much, says Xander. And what do you think about Zimbabwe rugby team? They are through to the next World Cup, aren't they? That's a penalty now to Ireland for side entry. And Moyo. It is awesome to see Zimbabwe rugby back on the mat. And Holmes deserves a pie, says Bruce. And French can stop the South African ladies. Says Helen there too. And Yatru says Wandile. And French can stop South African ladies. Yeah, they come in as big favourites, the French. I think at the moment in the New Zealand TAB, you can't even put money. Oh, no, you can. France are $1.01. And, mate, I never talked to a ref when I played. And when I tried reffing, wasn't any good because I didn't communicate. Things changed. Says Thud Rays there. Yeah, it is interesting how the game's kind of adapted. Like, there's some referees who actually describe pretty much every breakdown. And some people get annoyed with that, but at the same time, it's just trying to have that level of communication. And as long as teams aren't begging for penalties, that's like, the occasional little just ask of what was it that I did wrong there or anything like that, I think is fine. How can you not support your body weight and still get a penalty for holding on? Turn over by the Black Ferns. I assume you're talking about the Tukuafu penalty when Ireland were on attack. And I actually thought maybe her hands were down first too, but yeah, straight in front of the ref. Referee seemed to think it was all good. Setafano, she will make her way onto the field now for Brunt. 11 minutes remaining in this contest. The Black Ferns with the bonus point. Momentum heading into the next match, which will be the quarterfinal. How do women rugby work? Same as the men's. There's no different rules that they have or anything. Now going forward. Ref was coaching AB, says the Bok. Says Spook. When you start pronouncing the Islanders' names, you get tongue-tied real quick. Says Mr. and Mrs. Manu. Yeah, I think it's because, like I mentioned, I've been trying my best to get a few of those South African ladies' names right. It's quite a few of them are Xhosa or Afrikaans. So, by doing those names, it's kind of made me slightly mess up the Pacific Island names. A bit more nice spin there for Ireland. What a driving tackle that is, though, from Teresa Stefano. Now, all ball comes out the back for Ireland. I don't think they actually realise that was rush defence from Miller. They will go back for the penalty again against New Zealand, 5 metres from the line. Black Ferns will have an easy quarterfinal match, says Martin. I assume you're saying up against South Africa. Semi-final is where the real games begins for them. And also should have refed Mount Somers, New Zealand. Best game, senior SC Tussock Crawlers, says Mike. Great defence exercise for the Ferns. Now again, it looks like they are looking at that line-out drive as the potential option. I'm just looking at the time at the moment. We will have approximately 30 seconds in between these live streams, ladies and gentlemen, for being able to transfer over to that South Africa versus France game. This game has run long. Can sometimes happen when you got back-to-back fixtures. And the ones the Men's Rugby World Cup should be at the same time. What's your comment? I would only say yes if the games don't overlap. I think that even the Rugby Championship matches overlapping with the Women's World Cup final, I think is really poorly scheduled. But, you know, I think that if it meant that you didn't have overlaps of certain games, then absolutely it would be pretty cool to see them kind of synced up. But I also like the fact that it's 2 years separate, so that you get a Women's World Cup and then you wait 2 years, then the men's, wait 2 years, then the women's, rather than having a full 4-year stint that is held up over the line off the rolling ball for Ireland. It will be now New Zealand with the goal line dropout. 13 minutes go, easy win for the Black Ferns, says Martin in. Yeah, they have controlled this game. And they have got their what odds? South Africa versus the French. France are $1.01. And South Africa are $13 underdogs. And they are expected to lose that game by 27 points. Well, that's about the line that they're giving for the game. Now, kicked downfield from New Zealand, 40 metres out. Ireland have been attacking for the past maybe 5 or so minutes. Long game Silver says Spook there. And keep going, Ferns piled it on. Southern Hemisphere domination, says Charlie Anderson. Going away to the left-hand side. Ireland again with Eve Higgins. It's a chance of being able to pass on the outside. Another advantage for not rolling away against the Black Ferns. They've got to be about maybe 5 or so penalties up against them in the last, I would say, 5-10 minutes. Another advantage for not rolling away against Makaeli Tu'u. This is getting on the verge of a yellow card here for the Kiwis if they are not careful. Now flicked in behind. That was a miscommunication from the Irish, and they will go back for another penalty. Double blow of the whistle. Referee's going to have a stern word here. Okay, Holly Davidson there has just said pretty much the tacklers are going in, but the tacklers are not coming away from the challengers, and it's been far too many down this end of the field. Oh, quick tap taken by the Irish. I thought they kicked for the corner there, but they've decided to keep on going. The rolling ball has been defended well. A little bit of a counter ruck coming from the New Zealand front row replacements. 2 metres short of the line. Can the Black Ferns keep the perfect defence going? Sitting 0 for Ireland. Now, Georgia Miller tries to get the steal and does. And now they'll go away to left-hand side. New Zealand with a lot of space. They'll sink the slipper with Renee Holmes down the park. Ireland having to retreat with 3 players all rushing back to defend. Picked up, no drop ball. Picked up by Georgia Miller. Passes to Renee Holmes. And it will be the try for New Zealand. Full field try for the Black Ferns off the mistake of the Irish. All started with the Miller turnover about probably 90 metres down the park. Hang on. I see Holly Davidson going like this. They're going to check this one. What are we going to check for this one, I wonder? I think there was something in maybe that last little moment. Okay. They want to make sure there's no knock-on from Georgia Miller here. What streaming software do you have? I have StreamYard is the one that I end up using. We have got I think the Ferns are getting too comfortable. There's Mr. and Mrs. Manu. At least Ireland had a good stare down at the haka. Says Jeremy. Right. Oh, is that off the finger or off the boot of Georgia Miller? It was one of the two. There's a knock-on from White. Georgia Miller knocked it on. So that is going to be no try, I believe. Right, they're saying this is the best view. I thought that other angle was actually the best view. Yeah, she does knock that on, Georgia Miller. That is going to be no try. Sadly, just the separation off the hand of Georgia Miller as she went to pick it up. Okay, they're talking about the fact that there's a graphic over the screen, so she can't actually see the knock on for Holly Davidson on the big screen. Yeah, that is a knock on. But it's going to be no try. And we have got there the only difference between the man and woman rugby is the practical differences, says Casper. We have got there bad luck for the Black Ferns, says Spook. So yeah, it will remain as 26-0. This game is going to be very close to the next one, ladies and gents. So we might actually have to end this one just before the full-time whistle to be able to go over to start that next match between South Africa and France. It's been a lot of injury stoppages, couple TMO checks, but overall, it's been quite far from free-flowing. It's going to be about a 2-hour game of rugby between these two sides. Well done, ladies. Come on, the TMO. Says Sana there. Renee Holmes. Thought she had her try. Big smile on the face. Poked the tongue out as well. She's going to have to take that one back. And yeah, you can see the disappointment on the face of the Kiwis when they saw that knock-on replay. Interesting, cannot actually see the knock-on. So no evidence of a knock-on. We're rolling it a knock-on. That's why I hate TMO. Says Studs Race. See, I thought there was a knock-on, to be fair. I think it was just the unfortunate part for Miller was there was a half moment where the ball had gone forward and then she took her right hand off it and then stuck it straight back on. And I think if she had held on to it the whole time, there would have been no problems whatsoever. But because there was just that little bit of separation halfway through the movement, I think that would get called as a knock-on more times than not. There in the face, says Sergio, that is going to be the penalty now going the way of Ireland. Clear evidence of a knock-on, bro. Says Oosh the boys, still a great game, says Dallin. You were ecstatic when the All Blacks beat South Africa, says Void. I was just happy that we had a good game. You know, the worst thing would have been at Eden Park for it to be a complete dud. And to be fair, South Africa didn't turn up as well as a lot of people hoped, including myself. I was hoping for a last-minute thriller with try after try, or at least less knock-ons, I think was the biggest thing. There's no evidence that it hit her hand. I think the far angle for me, of course, agree to disagree, but the far angle I thought showed that her fingers kind of got brushed backwards. But yeah, it's one of those ones. I can't remember what Holly Davidson gave as on-field no try or on-field try. You must be watching the wrong game, bro. Says Oosh the boys. And it was in conclusive. Says Mr. and Mrs. Manu, but now going off to the right-hand side. Stacey Waka puts boot to ball. Ireland having to try get back and cover. It's going to be tough to do. There's plenty of pace still being shown by those Black Ferns backs. They tried. New Zealand too good, says Spook. Sitting with the 5 minutes remaining on the clock now in this game of Pool C. Still some nervous faces off the bench for the Black Ferns, or at least the ones who did start this game. Sylvia Brunt gets the MasterCard Player of the Match. And also bringing our bench and debutants, Bomb Squad coaches, says Sana. And how long, says Mohadeen. Still another 4.5 minutes remaining of this game. So I believe after this play, we will actually end up going straight over to that match between South Africa and France and letting you know what happens in the final 4 minutes over on there as well. I'm saying you cannot see it hitting her hand because in one view, her leg obscures the hand and the other view, it's out of shot. Says Studs Race. What about the third angle? I know that they brought in the third angle as well a little bit later on, which I thought was the best one of the lot. But yeah, it's one of those ones, I guess you could argue that the TMOs, sometimes they'll jump in for that, sometimes they won't. But, oh no, they're just now saying that Sylvia Brunt got the player of the match. They must have shown us before they actually told her, by the looks of it there. Over to the other live commentary, South Africa versus France. It is clear who was going to win here, says Casper. Might have missed the third angle, says Studs Race. And decision at OMG, says Spook. Now 3.5 minutes remaining. It is going to be the Irish scrum. We have got 1 minute away from that next live stream that is going to be beginning. So we'll wait. Oh no, sorry. Scrum feed actually to the New Zealanders. Now picking it up the back. Marina, or sorry, not Marina. I should say his sister, Liana Makaeli Tu'u. Now sitting 5 meters out, Amy Rule with the big fend off to the left-hand side again here for the Black Ferns. 10 meters out, Ireland looking for the steal, giving away the penalty advantage. Rule going off now to the left, Demant. One more pass on the outside, Renee Holmes, it's gone forward. and they'll go back for the penalty. Right, we are at the stage now, ladies and gents. There is 3 minutes remaining in this game. We're going to pop over to that next live stream so that we can start South Africa versus France, as that game is only moments away from starting up too. On that stream, we will let you know if New Zealand get themselves one last try in this contest, or perhaps if Ireland can get themselves one. So I will see you all in about 30 seconds or so.